I will say just a few words about the U.S. Pakistan relations. As both Peter and Mike have already underlined, the report has tried to be very balanced and, more importantly, highlighted the central fact that given the critical and long-term challenges that the two countries face, which neither can solve alone by themselves, they cannot afford to have an adversarial relationship. They must search for ways to build a strategic relationship and a strategic partnership. The report has pointed to some of the ways to do that, and in doing so, it has, in my view, been much more innovative and bold compared with similar reports that have come out of Washington from time to time. Is the task of lifting the relationship between the U.S. and Pakistan going to be easy? No, and the report doesn't make any pretensions about that. First and foremost, you cannot treat the relationship in isolation from what has been going on within Pakistan, especially in the last 10 years since the U.S. re-engaged. There is a correlation between the two. One is impacting on the other. But that's not the only issue. There are other linkages, and let me explain. Time was that the United States-Pakistan relationship used to exist largely, not exclusively, but largely at the government-to-government level, with only a peripheral interest by the media and public. United States wanted something out of Pakistan. It got some, but did not get all. Pakistan wanted something out of the United States. It got some, did not get all. From time to time, there were tensions and differences, but they were handled in a normal give and take as in a traditional diplomacy. Of course, public did not always like the bargain, but so it showed its resentment. In Pakistan, this resentment led to the slow emergence of anti-Americanism, and in the United States, it manifested itself in periodic aid cutoffs by the Congress. Both sides thus learned to be nice to each other and to be unfriendly to each other. And I'm afraid the tradition continues. But that's not all. The relationship is now, and that is where I want to make some very important points, and forgive me if I'm going to be politically incorrect in doing so. The relationship is now caught up in forces and trends, some local, some global, whose magnitude is not susceptible to solution by traditional methods. That the report has acknowledged that. And the report had hinted at the desirability of finding new ways of dealing with these challenges that are domestic as well as external in both countries. First of all, both countries are facing issues which are directly affecting public at large. That was not so in the past, on both sides. What are those issues? Issues of security, threat of terrorism, wars. There are wars going on. Debt and deficit, religious sensitivities, nationalism. So the relationship has entered the public domain on both sides by media and the information revolution. This is something completely new in their current phase of relationship. And if you look at the global forces that have been generated in the last few years, nationalism is affecting many, many developing countries. That's a very strong force. It's very strong in China also. So I think that is affecting their foreign policy outlook. So the relationship is no longer driven by the governments alone. And there are other complications. Given the nature of cooperation, the intelligence agencies on both sides have become big players. That's the nature of the current cooperation. And the intelligence agencies, as we all know, can be ruthless and self-centered. They have their own culture. And for the media, all that is going on in the relationship is a stuff dreams are made of. Pakistan has become an unending breaking story. That's complicating the relationship. And we have got to recognize these things. That adds to the complications. So here is a central issue. Let me wind up. You have so many transactions going on in the relationship every day. It does not make up for a strategic relationship. And that's what we need. We need a strategic partnership, a long-term commonality of interest and recognition of need for cooperation. But we are bogged down in daily transactions, which are also unavoidable. So that is the central dilemma. So there is a war going on, in fact, two wars going on, Afghanistan and the war against Al-Qaeda. That brings your focus so much to what is immediate and urgent. And both are creating public anxieties here in the United States, and also they are linked to the electoral calendar here. So politics is also impacting on them. So the United States' position on how to handle these wars has become very one-sided, because there's very strong domestic pressures here and uncompromising, which is creating tensions with Pakistan, because Pakistan is also facing the rough end of these issues. Pakistan is facing crisis too because of these issues. And Pakistan is in fact caught up in its own wars. Some it is fighting for itself, partly because of its own past mistakes, and some it's fighting on behalf of Washington. How to sort of have a coherent and strategic landscape of that. And then you have in Pakistan questions of relationship with India, civil-military relationships, you have drone attacks, you have nationalism, you have anti-Americanism. Anti-Americanism has virtually entered the body politic of Pakistan. You have to understand that. It's not just we sometimes trivialize it and dismiss it as something which is being incited by the Pakistan army. It's not so. You go to Pakistan and talk to intelligent, well-read, educated people who want Pakistan to become democratic, liberal, and progressive, and economically prosperous, and they will be also anti-Americanism. They have an argument to make. So you can't dismiss this anti-Americanism that's going on. So it's a very difficult context in which the relationship is being played out. And we sometimes trivialize it by just defining it in one or two single issues. I mean, Haqqani group, Haqqani group, Haqqani group. Issues are much larger. I'm not saying Haqqani group issue is not important, but issues are much larger. Neither Afghanistan can be defined only in terms of Taliban, nor Taliban can be defined only in terms of Haqqani group, nor the relationship between U.S. Pakistan can be defined only in terms of Haqqani group. So it's not that either side is being underhand or dishonest. We keep talking about trust deficit or all that. There are very important critical national interests involved on both sides. And that is where the challenge is for the two governments. So how do we take the relationship to the strategic level from the transactional? These are the challenges hinted at in the report. And I think in doing so, what we have done, especially Peter, Mike, and their collaborators who worked very hard on this report, we were only bit players, that they have produced essentially a very strategic report, not a transactional report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Hussain. Thank you for your help on thinking